Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2021 Volkswagen Tiguan, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Curt trailer wiring harness with a 4-way flat connector. So a lot of our Tiguan customers, use their SUVs to do a little bit of everything, and it makes sense. These are really capable, and so that does include quite a bit of towing, actually. And whenever you're pulling a trailer down the road, you want those lights to work like they should. That way people can see you, it'll keep you safe and keep you legal. And so a trailer wiring kit like this is going to get that job done. It's going to plug into your trailer, get all those lights illuminated, and keep you safe. But not only that, a lot of hitch-mounted accessories nowadays have lights on them too. Kind of a popular thing that we're seeing more and more of. And a lot of those are going to have that same type of connector. So this will power those up as well. It's going to have that 4-way flat connector. Super common. A lot of different trailers and everything else will have this type of connector on there. And today we have ours mounted outside. So I used a bracket to mount up to our hitch. Keep it out here. That way it's easily accessible. Something I recommend doing, especially if you plan on using it a lot. But the good news is too, this can also be stored on the inside of your vehicle, out of the elements. That way, if you only use it every now and again, you're not going to have to worry about, this staying outside. Something I do suggest, though, regardless of where you store it, is just to apply some dielectric grease to those terminals every now and again. That'll help keep them protected and prevent any corrosion from building up. There is something that I do want to mention, and something you definitely want to check to make sure this wiring kit will work with your car. So if you pull this little panel down, you can see how to do that here in a minute during the installation video. But you want to locate your factory connector and look at the wires there. So in our case, this Curt wiring worked with this type of setup. So it has 3 wires. If you're wondering, we tried the other kit that's available, the Conjugate, and that did not work. And chances are pretty good if your wiring connector has a single red wire, the Conjugate will work with that one, and the Curt kit will work with this setup. So something I figured was worth mentioning, and something you definitely want to check on your own Tiguan before you choose a specific wiring kit. But other than that, a pretty nice kit. These things are well built and should hold up for quite some time. And if you want your trailer lights to work, something you're definitely going to have to do. Now, as far as the installation goes, really not too bad. Everything's relatively easy to get to. It is a little time consuming though, just having to route all the wires and things like that. But as long as you stay focused, really shouldn't give you any issues. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and put it on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at the back of our Volkswagen, and we need to remove our floor coverings. So with these, you can just lift them up, pull them out, and set them off to the side. Now we can get this threshold removed and out of the way. What you want to do is start on one corner. You can take a trim tool like this and just kind of pry up on it, moving it along. And what you're trying to do is release some of the fasteners underneath there. So that's what those fasteners look like. So once this pops up, set it off to the side. And we're also just going to grab this foam tray with some of our spare tire tools and get this out of the way as well. Now on each side of our vehicle, you can remove these trays. These just pull right up. We'll set them out of the way for now. Right up under here, we're going to have an access vent, more or less. We can remove that. That way we can get access to the back of our taillights where the connector is. Just take a trim tool, flathead screwdriver, something like that, and just pry down on it. We'll release. We'll do that on each side. Now what we need to do is kind of loosen this side panel up a little bit. That way it'll be easier to kind of get our wires up in here and everything else. So what you're going to do is, again, take a trim tool or a flathead, and there's kind of several clips that are behind here. And pretty much just like the threshold, we can kind of just work our way along there. And get this released. You Don't need a ton of space, but the more the better. That way it'll be easier to get our wiring in. So what you want to do now is take your yellow and brown T-connector in, as well as the white wire with the ring terminal on it. Kind of push it behind the panel and up and out that opening there. Now we need to disconnect our factory wiring, which is this plug right here. To do that, you're gonna pull out on that red tab, like so, and then you can push in the center of the plug, and it will pop out. So that's the center of the plug you want to push down on. And what we're gonna do is take the end of our T-connector, plug that right in, and then the other end of the T-connector plug is simply just going to get installed right back into our tail light. At this point, what you can go ahead and do is take that white wire with the ring terminal. That's going to need to be grounded to the body of our vehicle. So I just used a provided self-tapping screw and drilled right into that sheet metal. It'll provide us with an adequate ground. So now what I went ahead and did was just secured our module box here. So the kit comes with a piece of two-sided sticky tape. Pretty straightforward, you know, you just stick it to the body of your vehicle. And then the green wire, I actually routed over to the passenger side of our vehicle. That way we could get it plugged in to the factory wiring over there. So here's a path that I took. Since there's really no good way to secure the wiring here, I just used some packing tape and just taped it to the body of our vehicle. Seems to work out really well. Brought it up through here just like we did on the driver's side. And this simply plugs in the same exact way as the other side. At this point, what we can do is hook up our power wire that comes out of our module. So I got one end of our power wire up into position. I'll show you how I did that in just a moment. First, let's get it hooked up. I'm gonna strip back one end of the insulation there. Take a butt connector. I'm using a heat shrink type. This does not come included. The standard type butt connectors come included. Those will work just fine. The heat shrinks just give us a little more protection against corrosion and things like that. If you'd rather use these, you can grab them here at eTrailer. We're going to take the other end of the black wire coming from our module box, plug that in, get it crimped down. We'll grab our heat source and seal up the ends. So this is going to be a little tricky to see from up here, but it is nice and easy to see from the bottom side, so we'll check that out in a minute. But if you reach your hand back underneath this carpet and kind of push up a little bit, it's going to be a factory grommet you can pull out, and then you can drop that black power wire through there, as well as your four-way flat connector. If you want to mount the four-way connector on the outside, that's what you would do. If you want to leave it mounted here on the inside, you can simply just kind of ball it up and set it off to the side. So let's go ahead, go underneath the vehicle and check everything out. Here's that grommet that I mentioned, all right, where our four-way wire passes through, as well as our power wire. So I got those routed, and after you have that done, you want to make sure to apply some silicone there just to keep everything nice and sealed up. With that said, we'll route our four-way first. I just ran this along through here, kind of along the trailer hitch, where it kind of goes out and gets connected to the bracket that's mounted on the hitch. This bracket doesn't come included, but if you need one, you can grab it here at eTrailer. So the power wire is going to get routed up into the engine compartment. When you do this, avoid any hot or moving parts. So I just went up along through here, securing it to our subframe using the included zip ties. Wire comes down through here, and it's going to run along the side of our fuel tank. Come down here, and from here I more or less just followed our factory brake lines. We'll come back and clip all these ends off of our zip ties. Not really a big deal. To get easier access, I did loosen up this cover, just a few 10mm fasteners here and there, and you can drop it down. And then from here, I routed it up into the engine compartment. The way I got it up there is I used a fish wire. So I dropped down a piece of tubing, taped the wire to it, pulled it up. You can also use a coat hanger or heavy piece of wire, something like that, whatever you have laying around. So in the engine compartment, here's where our power wire comes up. And what I have done is just crimped on a butt connector, attach that to the included fuse holder. Other end of the fuse holder, crimped on a ring terminal. Back this nut off of the positive battery side using a 10mm. So you'll back that off, get the ring terminal around it. Some of these nuts don't come right off. You don't want to force them, so if you got to cut a little opening in your terminal, by all means do that. Slide it in, tighten the nut back down, and then you can grab the included fuse, place that into the holder, and now we can check our wiring to make sure that it works properly. So to test our wiring, I'm using this tester. I recommend using something like this as opposed to plugging it into your trailer. That way it eliminates any issues that you could have on your trailer. That said, we'll try our left turn signal, our right turn signal, our brakes, and our taillights. At this point, what we can do is reinstall all of our panels and our threshold, as well as our floor coverings, the opposite way that we removed them. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Curt trailer wiring harness with the 4-way flat type connector on our 2021 Volkswagen Tiguan.